Do you ever find it hard to forgive? You ever been just so hurt by someone that forgive and forget seems impossible on both counts? Oh, I'll never forget this, and I'll certainly never be able to forgive it. It goes beyond the pale of compassion. Now, this is hard because sometimes we have a hard time forgiving because of our weakness. We're prideful, or we're angry, or we want vengeance, whatever it might be. Those are things we're going to need to work on and overcome. But you know what's interesting? Sometimes it's hard to forgive, not because of our weakness, but because of our strength. Sometimes it's a matter of compassion for the victim, even when that victim is us. Sometimes it's a sense of right and wrong, and it's a sense of justice on our part that has been truly offended. Sometimes it's not anger, it's righteous indignation. And we know it's righteous because they did something wrong and we know that's wrong. And what, I'm just supposed to roll over and pretend it never happened? I'm just supposed to, what you want, codependence? Is that what you're asking for? Allow me to just, okay, fine. Who am I to stand up to my abuser? Oh, be very careful here. We're going to wrestle with that in the next few verses. But forgiveness, it's meant to be hard. This is a difficult doctrine that the Lord's about to teach. And again, keep in mind as we start this conversation, it's not just hard because of our weakness, though sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's hard because of our strength. With that in mind, look at section 64, verse 9. The Lord has just talked about church leaders seeking occasion against each other and losing the spirit as a result. But notice what he says here. Wherefore I say unto you that ye ought to forgive one another. For he that forgiveth not his brother his trespasses standeth condemned before the Lord. For there remaineth in him the greater sin. Now that's hard doctrine, hard saying. Who can hear it? Wait a minute. So if I don't forgive someone else, I'm worse than they are? What I didn't do to them, no forgiveness, is worse than what they did to me, whatever that might be? I mean, he doesn't get specific here, but he doesn't seem to need to. When he says you ought to forgive one another, that doesn't seem to hold any caveats or conditions. That's supposed to be our default setting. We forgive. We forgive one another. And if I don't, I'm in the wrong. In fact, I'm more in the wrong than they were. Now, at one level, this makes sense. I think it was President Kimball who once said, if we don't forgive others, then we've burned the bridge over which we must pass if we hope to find forgiveness from God. The Lord teaches that in the Sermon on the Mount. What measure you meet, it will be meted unto you again. Okay, it's the law of the harvest. If I'm a judgmental jerk to other people, then I guess God will have to be a judgmental jerk to us. We reap what we sow. But what's interesting here, though, on the one hand, okay, that makes sense. I do some wrong things. Other people do some wrong things. We need to get over that. But taking this to the level of I'm worse, the victim is worse than the perpetrator if the victim doesn't forgive the perpetrator? What if this is about abuse? I mean, if it's just somebody cut me off in the freeway and I can't get over it, then yeah, I need to get over it. But if it wasn't cut me off, it was a drunk driver that slammed into my family's vehicle and they're gone now. Do I really have to forgive them? Well, if they were drunk, what if okay, we can go anywhere on this. And to take things to an extreme level as far as sin is concerned, am I supposed to take my forgiveness to that same extreme? And if I can't, am I worse than they were? That's tough to swallow. Now, I need you to understand something here. Elder Richard G. Scott twice gave talks about abuse and how to heal from those devastating wounds. And in the second one he gave them like 20 years apart. But the second one he gave, I remember him saying, and I never heard this doctrine taught so clearly. He said, if you cannot forgive your abuser right now, that's okay. Don't feel guilty. In some ways, feeling guilty that you can't forgive, then just that re-victimizes you. They destroyed me the first time, and now that I think that I'm worse than them in the first place, then that destroys me all over again. And don't let that happen, Elder Scott says. In fact, he says forgiveness is a gift of grace, a gift of God. And so just keep coming unto him. And in his time and in his way, as he heals you, the grace will come whereby you can forgive anyone. Don't hold yourself to some early ultimatum. Don't give yourself a deadline that has to be it, because that will probably be a premature lip service kind of forgiveness. And that's not what the Lord seeks. He's trying to draw the poison out of us. And if we'll simply seek grace to fill us, so the poison spills out over the top, so that we can just get beyond what we've been through, and the Lord can help us with that, that's what we're looking for. Now, he says something next that is important, but keep it in context of what he just said. If you don't forgive, you're the worst party. And again, it's hard to admit, compared to what they did, what's wrong with me not getting over it? Well, let me put it in these terms. If you're starting to play God and you're the one passing final judgment, they should not be forgiven. I won't forgive them. God shouldn't forgive them. Playing God, that's a big problem. Or drawing a line in the sand and saying the atonement of Jesus Christ is not allowed to cross that line because that person's on the other side of it and they have to stay there. Okay, now I can start to see why it might be a worse sin on my part if I'm playing God or confining the atonement of Jesus Christ. If I'm stiff-arming Jesus and saying, your grace cannot go to them, I refuse to let you heal them, we're probably refusing to let him heal us too. So those are some things where we can see, that is a bigger problem. I need to work on that. But then notice what he says. I hope this gives us some hope for the process. Verse 10 and 11, I, the Lord, will forgive whom I will forgive. But of you it is required to forgive all men. And ye ought to say in your hearts, let God judge between me and thee, and reward thee according to thy deeds. Now again, here we see our default setting. Of you it is required to forgive all men. That's the default. I don't have to second guess and go, well, should I forgive this time? No, we do. Every single time. And notice he said, you ought to say it in your hearts. That's why lip service doesn't do it. That's why we can't it's like little kids, say sorry to your sister because you hit her. Sorry. Like, oh, wow, I really felt the sincerity oozing out of you. No, it has to be heartfelt. And that can only come as grace comes as a gift from God. So be patient with the process and let it come. Just keep coming unto Christ. But realize that the destination every single time for us is forgiveness. I will forgive them. But notice what he said to preface that. I, the Lord, will forgive whom I will forgive, which lets you know I won't forgive whom I won't forgive. Oh, wait a minute. So if forgiveness is supposed to be our default setting, you mean it's not yours? No. Not if it robs justice. Mercy cannot rob justice. Ask Alma about that. But there needs to be this balance as God proves the contraries perfectly. What's interesting here is he's not saying, remember what I said at the beginning? Sometimes it's our strength that keeps us from forgiving. And it's this sense of justice that we have. And if I forgive them, they're never going to get what they deserve. Well, no, the real question is, don't expect them to get what they deserve from you. God is excusing us from the impossible task of passing perfect judgment. We can't do it. We simply don't know their story enough. We might know what they've done to us, but we don't know what's been done to them. We know how they've been perpetrator. We don't know how they've been victim. We don't know everything that went into their backstory, their nature, their nurture, everything they've experienced, why, what frame of mind they were in when they did what they did to you. So in some ways, it's not a matter of justice won't be served. It's a matter of who is going to serve justice. And once we realize that's going to come from a perfect judge who knows everything I've been through and everything they've been through, he will know just how well to balance justice and mercy with his perfect judgment that lies between. And that takes such a burden off our shoulders. I don't have to worry about if someone's getting away with something. The Lord's taken that off my hands. When he says, you ought to say in your heart, let God judge between me and thee and reward thee according to thy deeds. Reward could be good or bad. If you deserve mercy, trust the Lord will give it to you. If they deserve justice, trust that God will give that to them. It's in his hands. So leave it there. That's what he's asking for. But then he says something else that fascinates me. We're still not done. Look at verse 12 through 14. And him that repenteth not of his sins, and confesseth them not. So repent, confess. We saw that a few sections ago. That's what real repentance is all about, confess and forsake. If they don't do that, notice what he says, ye shall bring them before the church, and do with him as the scripture saith unto you, either by commandment or by revelation. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that justice? If we're supposed to, think about somebody who's done something, and now we're supposed to administer church discipline. We're supposed to bring them before the church and do what the scriptures say, do what the commandments say, do what the revelations say. You mean they could be excommunicated, disfellowshipped? Do we turn them into legal authorities? All those wow, they're going to have to pay the piper. There really is justice being served here. Even institutional justice from the church side of things. But wait a minute. If that's justice, didn't you just tell us that mercy is supposed to be our default? You're confusing me here, Lord. You told me to forgive everyone, and now you're asking me to run church discipline. Well, okay, there's a difference between individual forgiveness and institutional forgiveness. Part of the role of institutional discipline, church discipline, is to protect the innocent. That might require justice for the perpetrator. Part of it is to save the soul of the sinner, and that's going to be a balance of justice and mercy, exactly the proportions that they need. You understand? There's a need for this justice side of things. I'm just saying on an individual case-by-case basis, you go ahead and be forgiving. In your role as judge in Israel, this is where justice needs to come in and have its day. In fact, you individually also will need to learn to balance justice and mercy in everything that you do. Because notice what he says next. This part amazes me. He goes on in this passage, right after telling us to be merciful and then reminding us to be just, he then says, and this ye shall do that God may be glorified. Not because ye forgive not, having not compassion, but that ye may be justified in the eyes of the law, that ye may not offend him who is your lawgiver. Verily I say, for this cause ye shall do these things. Now, that's a fascinating insight. Because here we are trying to balance justice and mercy, and that's hard already, right? Sometimes I'm too just, sometimes I think I'm too merciful. I'm not good at judgment and finding the right balance and in the Goldilocks zone. But that's what we're aiming. Well, I guess he said we're supposed to err on the side of mercy, right? For you it is required to forgive all men. Oh, wait. Before you err on the other side, let's try not to err, and let's make sure that we honor justice as well. If a church disciplinary council is concerned, then that's what you need to do. Well, but wait a minute, then I'm being too just. I thought I was supposed to be merciful. And what I love here, again, the Lord is recognizing our strength. Your strength might make it hard to forgive. Or in this case, your strength might make it hard to administer discipline. You might be too just. Justice is a good thing. Too just, you might not be merciful enough. Mercy is a good thing. Too merciful, you might not be just enough. And so when he says this is so amazing. You're going to need to administer discipline. You're going to need to hold people accountable. You're going to need to honor law, and not because you forgive not, having not compassion. You see what he's saying there? Just because you're honoring justice doesn't make you unmerciful. Just because you are holding to the law, that doesn't make you unloving. Justice and mercy is a contrary we have to prove. Law and love is a contrary we have to prove. We have to keep them in balance. And just because I'm being just here doesn't mean I don't want to be merciful. And just because I have to pass judgment, it's not that I don't have compassion on you. For example, when we try to balance law and love in LGBT issues, we get accused of having no love when we are trying to honor the law of God. Now, there are times that law is being honored without love, and that's a problem. But to accuse any law keeper as unloving, that's unfair as well. And this is, in my opinion, the best verse to wrestle with that. Just because you are holding to godly standards and trying to honor commandments from Christ, that does not make you uncompassionate. That doesn't make you unforgiving. You're trying to balance justice and mercy too, and that is difficult. But you have to do it because, as he said here, you can't afford to offend your lawgiver. God, the Lord, is both the Lord of law and the Lord of love. He balances these opposites perfectly. He's asking us to do our best to try. Because if we err on the side of mercy, we've offended the Lord of law. And if we err on the side of justice, we've offended the Lord of love. We need to honor both chastity and charity, both truth and tolerance, both love and law, both justice and mercy. And that's going to require the Spirit to help us find that center spot on the straight and narrow path. This is a tall order. Forgiveness always is. And honoring the need to forgive others while still holding people accountable for the mistakes they've made. That's difficult. Ask a gymnast how they strike balance on the balance beam. And the key is core strength, the strongest muscle that they have. I pray we can have more core strength to forgive as our default position, while at the same time holding people accountable for things they're doing wrong. Tall order? Well, turn to Christ, and he'll help us accomplish that.